Good evening, my friends. Bonsoir, mes amis. I am so excited to be in Ontario and to see lots of familiar faces in this room, but I have to admit, I'm even more excited to see so many new faces in this room. Welcome to the LPCO. Thank you for making time in your busy schedules to join us here. But speaking of familiar faces, I'd like to start with a few quick acknowledgements. First and foremost, a huge thank you goes out to Howard Stevenson for his years of leadership. How are you, Howard? Howard is a lifelong Liberal. He actually worked for the party in the 1980s as our fundraiser, running our direct mail. Howard has been a riding president, a central region president, and was elected LPCO treasurer in 2004. He is now leaving after 4 years as president of the LPCO team. Thank you, Howard, for all your hard work. And I know she'll be thanked in a more festive capacity tomorrow night, but I also wanted to extend my personal thanks to Judy Longfield for her many, many years of dedicated service. Thank you. And thank you and congratulations to our incoming president, Tyler Bannon. I know he looks young, but his work for the Liberal cause spans nearly 25 years. Tyler, I know there were periods in there where your hope was tested more than your hard work, so thanks for sticking with us. Hard work. Hard work is what we're all about. Look around you. This very riding is a great example of it. How do I know that? Because this is John McCallum territory. For 14 years, John has represented the people of Markham Unionville in Ottawa with principle and talent. And when that next election comes and John looks to win again in the new riding of Markham Thornhill, it'll be with that talent and strength. It'll be one of the 15 new ridings in play. And guess what? Hard work will pay off again, as it just paid off for our friends Premier Kathleen Wynne and her Ontario Liberals. Now, about that next election. Somebody asked me recently whether the campaign has already started. I think you know the answer to that question. I've also been asked a lot about the Liberal Party's chances of forming the next government. Well, I certainly hope you know the answer to that question, too. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We're about hope and hard work, after all, not just hope. Hard work is what gets you places. Hard work is how you earn your spot. And Canadians are giving us a chance to earn ours. Because this isn't just about winning an election. That's just one part. We are here to earn the trust of Canadians in order to represent them and to work hard for them. The right to serve must be earned. My parents, your parents, taught you that at a young age. The Conservatives seem to have forgotten that idea. I don't take too much stock in polls, and nor should you. But if the Conservatives seem to be in trouble, let's remember why. The Conservatives have closed their eyes and shut their ears. They have shut themselves off from the provinces. They've shut themselves off from the cities. They've shut themselves off from Parliament. And they've shut themselves off from Canadians. This government is out of touch, and it's taking Canadians for granted. Nous n'allons pas faire pareil. Selon moi, nous ne sommes pas au service de nos concitoyens pour gagner, on est là pour servir. Et nous devons travailler avec acharnement tous les jours pour mériter ce privilège. C'est vrai pour nous tous, pour les bénévoles au téléphone, autant que pour les candidats aspirants, autant que pour nos députés actuels. Pour mériter la confiance des Canadiens, nous devons être à la hauteur de leurs attentes. Ils doivent savoir que nous leur proposons des idées nouvelles, originales et positives. Que nous attirons des Canadiens qui travaillent avec acharnement pour servir le public. Les Canadiens veulent savoir que nous nous préoccupons de ce qui est important pour eux, que nous bâtissons l'équipe et le plan qui viendront remplacer ce gouvernement usé et complètement déconnecté de la réalité. Canadians want to know that we are focused on what matters to them, that we are building a team and a plan to replace this tired, out-of-touch government. And not just with a different government, with a better government. The great news is the hard work has already begun. We've nominated nearly 1/3 of our candidates across the country, including 31 here in Ontario. Every week, we add more impressive names to our already impressive slate of candidates. I mentioned John McCallum, a man who is fiercely proud to represent Markham. And the more often I visit, the more often I see why. John is proud of his community. And since he's, believe it or not, too modest, let me tell you why we're so proud to have him. Unlike some members of Parliament I can mention, John is a real economist. He's a serious economist. In fact, he's one of the most cited economists in Canada's history. He was chief economist for the Royal Bank. And here's a little known fact. He was actually my dean at McGill. It's actually probably a fairly positive reflection on the both of us that we never had occasion to meet back then. He is a constant source of advice and wisdom on economic policy. We are so lucky to have him in our caucus, in our party, and in Canada's Parliament. The same will be said for Dr. Jane Philpott, our candidate in Markham-Stouffville, and one of the chairs of this event. Jane was the chief of family medicine at Markham-Stouffville Hospital and one of the most respected physicians in the province. And Jane's not alone. Her co-chairs are Anne Tenier, our newly nominated Hamilton Centre candidate, who will bring her experience in business and conservation to our team. Bienvenue, Anne. And of course, one of our newest members of Parliament, Arnold Chan. You can understand that I'm enormously proud that with Arnold's victory, we have the first Chinese-Canadian GTPA MP in the history of our great party. That was actually long overdue, but I'd like to thank all three of this weekend's co-chairs for all they've done to bring this great event to life. And Arnold's not the only new face around our caucus table. Because of your hard work, we have won every by-election in Ontario since our last LPCO general meeting. Arnold Chan, Chrystia Freeland, and Adam Vaughan are already invaluable members of our team, and I know they are each extremely grateful for everything you have done to make their wins possible. So thank you. Those victories mean something. Yes, they mean we have amazing new MPs, but they also mean that we can take those lessons we've learned and apply them to contests across this country. And that's what this weekend is all about. C'est l'occasion pour vous de rencontrer plus de libéraux, de vous faire des nouveaux amis et, par-dessus tout, d'en apprendre plus pour ce que vous pouvez faire pour contribuer à à changer les choses dans vos communautés. J'espère que vous partagerez vos propres expériences et aussi que vous poserez énormément de questions difficiles. Je serais déçu si ce n'était pas le cas. Je vous lance aussi le défi de réfléchir aux enjeux qui sont propres à l'Ontario, car ils sont nombreux. I want to talk about 3 of those issues now, important to Ontario: infrastructure, immigration, and healthcare. Infrastructure. We want to build a stronger economy, one that creates more good jobs for more Ontarians. That means spending isn't just about new roads. It's about getting people to work on time. It's about getting our goods, whether they're car doors or diamonds or data, to the market quickly, securely, and efficiently. It's about affordable housing, safe water, public transit, and communities that work. Canada is a country with such talent and potential that it should be absurd to frame things like affordable housing and public transit as ambitious goals. Yet here we are. That's what comes with having a federal government that just doesn't work well with others, and certainly not others who don't share its ideology. Well, that's an old, stale way of thinking, my friends. And I believe that it is out of touch with what Canadians expect from their leaders in 2014. But it's no wonder. Mr. Harper has been in power for a long time. 3,154 days to be precise, but who's counting? And his Ontario team? Well, they've been around even longer. Mr. Harper's 2 senior Ontario ministers attended their first caucus meeting the year Windows 95 came out. That's right. By the end of 2015, by the 2015 election, John Baird and Tony Clement will have been on the public's payroll for 20 years. Now, Tony and John like to talk the talk of the private sector. I don't know about you, but I think it's high time we sent them to experience the private sector for the very first time. But somehow, despite all this experience, the Harper Conservatives still don't get Ontario. Joe Oliver, who represents Eglinton Lawrence, ought to. He should be working alongside Kathleen Wynne to build a plan to help Ontario prosper. Instead, what does he do? When the Premier put out a budget focused on jobs and growth, he attacked it as, quote, a route to economic decline. Think about that for a second. We're used to partisanship from these guys, but think about that. That's Canada's finance minister undermining consumer and investor confidence in the province that is 40% of this country's economy. That's just short-sighted, hyper-partisan, and quite frankly, irresponsible. And it's got to stop. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Ontario needs a partner in Ottawa, not an opponent. My friends, you and I are going to prove to Ontarians that we have the plan and we have the team to be that partner. This antagonistic attitude towards Ontario has produced some sadly predictable results. You don't have to spend much time in the GTA before you realize that we have serious infrastructure needs, especially when it comes to transit, and that those needs are actually holding our economy back. What has Mr. Harper's response been? What has his government offered to Ontario by way of infrastructure investments? Well, this past spring, the Conservatives launched their Building Canada Fund, which cut infrastructure spending by nearly 90%. Last year, the government made available $1.7 billion for infrastructure projects. This year, $210 million. And that's not just the funding for Markham or even for Ontario. That is all the funding available for all of Canada over the next year. And guess what? The Conservatives are holding on to most of our infrastructure cash until after 2015. I know, and you know, that our communities need to repair bridges, upgrade roads, invest in water treatment and affordable housing today. That funding shouldn't be dependent on voting Conservative in the next election. How many more catastrophic floods do our towns and cities need to live through before we get serious about planning for future challenges, including the ones that come with climate change? These challenges get harder to solve and more expensive to fix the longer we wait. Canadians who need work should be trained and put to work in the high-quality, well-paying jobs that we know infrastructure projects can create. But in order to take advantage of all those opportunities, we need the best workforce possible here in Ontario and across the country. And that means, among other things, we need a better immigration policy in this country. That's why I believe, and our party believes, that growing our job market also means finding better ways to support new Canadians, many of whom are entrepreneurs. Here's the Conservatives' idea of support. Shut down visa offices at home and abroad. Artificially increase wait times. Freeze family reunification applications for 2 years, then come out with new rules so strict that thousands who might have otherwise applied to come to Canada don't even bother. If we want to open our doors to the best and the brightest that the world has to offer, we can't leave our compassion locked on the back porch. And the benefits of family reunification reach far beyond the individual, and they pay greater dividends in productivity, in stronger and more diverse communities. To me, those are real family values, Ontario's values, Canada's values. You want to know how to create a better Canadian economy? Create more Canadians. People come here to build a life for themselves and their families. They want to be citizens of a great country, not just temporary employees of a company. That's the Canada Liberals have fought for since Wilfrid Laurier, and that's the Canada we believe in. Third, central to that healthy economy are healthy citizens. It was actually 10 years ago tonight that Prime Minister Paul Martin sat down with provincial and territorial premiers over dinner and started a conversation about health care and how to fund it. 3 intense days of negotiation followed. There were offers, counter-offers. There was frustration, even a little bit of unparliamentary language. Mais au terme de ces débats, les premiers ministres des provinces et des territoires et le Premier ministre du Canada ont proposé aux Canadiens l'accord sur la santé. Un accord sur 10 ans qui allait augmenter les paiements de transferts fédéraux et définir des normes nationales en matière de mesures de soins de santé qui importent le plus aux yeux de la population canadienne, comme les temps d'attente et l'accès à un médecin de famille. A decade later, though even the Accord's strongest proponents admit that it wasn't perfect, it has made real positive progress. Wait times came down across the country, especially in Ontario. More Canadians found primary caregivers, again, especially in Ontario. Federalism is about cooperation and partnership. It's about mutual respect. What happened when that 10-year agreement ended tells us a lot about where healthcare ranks today as a federal priority. Because what has happened since is little better than nothing. Think about the two different approaches. This is not a difference in management style. This is the difference between seeing provinces and territories as full partners deserving of respect or not. Ontario, you just elected one of the smartest, most ambitious, most compassionate premiers this country has ever seen. Well, she deserves a full partner in Ottawa, one who understands that the demographic shift is already upon us and requires a serious and substantial response, a response that features real experts and real investment. And speaking of experts in healthcare and research, I'd like to acknowledge another one of our candidates who's here with us tonight, Selina Caesar-Chavannes. Come on, stand up. Selina is running in the upcoming Whitby-Oshawa by-election. So, when she's not working hard to help us go 4 for 4 in Ontario, Selina runs her own business. She teaches the importance of diversity in clinical healthcare research. I hope you have a chance to meet Selina this weekend. Her enthusiasm, her entrepreneurial spirit is something to behold. Whitby-Oshawa is going to be a challenging race, possibly the hardest one we faced so far in Ontario. But I have faith in Selina's ability to connect with her community, and I have faith that you will do everything you can to help her win that by-election. And speaking of candidates, I know I've brought a big change to this party with our competitive, open nominations. And it's working really well. And I want to talk about that. First, I made that choice because the party we need to build can't exist only on paper. It has to have deep roots in every community across this country. Local contests bring new blood. They'll prepare new candidates and their organizations for the much tougher fight that will come with the general election. The hard work and the competition made my win in Papineau possible in 2008, and it will make a win in 2015 possible for all of us, too. Second, even though they are contests, remember that we're all on the same team. I'll say what any good hockey coach would in this situation. Go hard in scrimmage, but if anybody misses a game because of an injury they got in practice, I'll be one unhappy coach. Third, and most important, remember that just because nominations are open, it doesn't mean we should be passive. We must all work to find strong voices to represent our communities in Ottawa. Let me be very clear on this. We have two very big jobs to do between now and the next election. I intend to lead you in both. We need to build a new plan for governing Canada and put together the best team Canadians have ever seen to implement that plan. If we beat the Conservatives in the next election, it will be because we have the best team and the best plan, because we offer Canadians a hopeful vision of their country, and because we're going to work incredibly hard to get it done. Hope and hard work will beat anger and arrogance every time. And on how that work's going, I've got some great news. This past summer, in a time where most Canadians are normally preoccupied with barbecues, summer camps, and the beach, 30,000 Canadians signed up to be members of the Federal Liberal Party, our strongest summer ever here in Ontario. That's just in Ontario. Because across Canada, Liberal Party membership is up over 200,000. That is proof that Canadians feel connected, Canadians care, that they're engaged, that they want the kind of country we're building. And one more thing. You know what's most exciting about that number? Of those 200,000 Canadians who are right now members of the Liberal Party, half of them have stepped up for the very first time in their lives. That's what happens when Liberals set aside their differences and understand that working for Canadians is the most important thing. When we believe that focusing on the people who matter, the people out there in communities all across this country, is what we're here for. Our opponents don't get this. We all know Mr. Harper and his party's negativity and divisiveness. But I guess Mr. Mulcair took a hard look at the Conservative way of doing politics and said, if I can't beat them, I might as well join them. This week he confirmed it. He and his new Democratic Party will also go negative and turn to personal attacks. Well, let me tell you this, my friends. Let the New Democrats join the Conservatives. While they focus on us, we will continue to focus on Canadians. I am so proud of all that we have accomplished in the last 2 years. And I know that even more impressive results await us in the exciting year that lies ahead. So thank you again for being here this weekend. I'm excited to see you all, and I know we're ready to get to work. With a team like this, with our hope and hard work, I know we can build the kind of government, the kind of country Canadians deserve. Merci beaucoup, mes amis. Thank you very much.